So here we go. Hey, Mary Kay, will the Browns trade up on Thursday night?
Dan, I really don't think they will. They will end up trading up. I don't think this is a team that wants to mortgage its future. I think it wants to have as many swings at the plate as it can possibly get. And I think that if anything, they'll either stay put right there at number 26, perhaps trade back a little bit. Now, they do have the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 24. If they think their guy is going to Pittsburgh, I suppose there is a chance they could try to climb up over them. But what I don't see them doing, and we've talked about this before, is going up really high and having to give up a first round pick or other really valuable assets like that. So maybe a little bump up, perhaps, but I don't see a big climb.
Right. And I was listening this weekend to a podcast where I believe it was Warren Sharp, who's a big, obviously a big analytics, tons of data. Also, if you know who Warren Sharp is, and he's huge in the analytics community. And there is some data out there that kind of shows trading up for non-quarterbacks isn't always great value. And I'm sure the Browns subscribe to a lot of those ideas. More trade talk here, though. Hey, Mary Kay, will the Browns trade away from 26, possibly for a veteran?
Well, you know what? I'm going to say no. I asked Andrew Berry about this the other day when we talked to Andrew, and he said that he's open to anything and won't rule anything out. But usually trades of veterans, it's not super common on draft weekend. Those things have to be, the parameters have to be in place before the weekend for the most part, if you're going to do something like that. And when you pull off a trade like that or try to execute a trade like that on draft weekend, if it doesn't work out, the other team has already gotten the draft pick and made a pick. So you could get yourself into a little bit of hot water if you try to do this, because you can't go back on it, right? I mean, you just can't reverse the situation in the event the guy fails a physical or something like that. They're pretty hard to pull off. Also, I have had in the back of my mind, do they have something up their sleeve with Odell? Are they going to trade Odell? I don't think that's going to happen. I really, really do not see that happening. Just don't see it happening for some of the reasons that we're talking about. Also, I just don't think there's a market there for a player who's coming off a torn ACL and has a cap number somewhere in the 15s, in the 15 millions this year. Don't see that happening. Don't really see it happening with David Njoku, who's another player who has expressed a desire to be elsewhere as recently as February, when he went on a podcast with the Jim Rome show and just talked about he wasn't sure that he wanted to be here. Now on social media, we see him saying, that he's all in. I think he's here too. He's going to be playing under his 5th-year option of $6 million. That's a pretty decent price if you can get a little bit more production out of him. I think they should try to get more production out of him. We'll see how that goes, but for that amount of money, I think he's going to be here through this season, and then maybe he'll be gone. As far as trying to trade for another veteran like a Stephon Gilmore, we've talked about that a lot too. Once again, I don't envision a blockbuster trade like that. I really don't see something like that happening. If they are going to add to the cornerback pile, and I think they will, I think it will be through the draft.
Another trade question, the other part of this. Hey, Mary Kay, will they trade back?
If they are going to make a trade from number 26 out of 26, I do think it would be to trade back some. That they would probably do. And I'm sure Warren Sharp talked about this maybe on that same podcast, is that, there is obviously a lot to be said for trading back some if your guy's still going to be there a few spots later, and accumulating more assets, especially if they're high. And when I talk about high, I mean first, second, and third round, when you can expect those players to either be starters or contributors. So if they have a chance to do something like that, I don't think they would hesitate, especially because some people are talking about this draft being only about 23 players deep in terms of first rounders. That, of course, goes board by board, and it's a weird year. It is a weird year to evaluate guys. You're evaluating guys that didn't even play football in some cases in 2020. So it's very, very difficult to try to get a handle on this group. But I do think that if they make a trade, they will trade back.